Things are about to change dramatically in British politics. At least that's how it felt in Liverpool, where the opposition Labour Party held its annual conference this week. In front of a packed hall, Labour leader Keir Starmer gave an upbeat speech painting the ruling Conservatives as the party of national decline and Labour as the party of stability. Starmer's speech, which was glitter-bombed early by a protester, may have been light on detail, but its intent was best summed up with dig at the Conservative government, turn our back on never-ending Tory decline with a decade of national renewal. Unlike the governing Conservative Party's meeting, which took place in Manchester last week, the speeches and events in Liverpool this week have been packed with excited members, lobbyists and reporters. While waiting for a keynote speech, one of many which saw lines of people snake around the venue, a party member told CNN, "It's like the Magaluf Strip, but filled with policy nerds." That comparison to one of Europe's best-known party destinations might be a bit of an overstatement for what is essentially 4 days of too many people crammed into small rooms talking about thrilling subjects like taxation and infrastructure. But there is something in the air. A buoyant mood. These conferences are usually stressful slogs where attendees dash from one event to another trying to see all of the raw politics on display, particularly the warring party factions holding pointed fringe events attacking one another, or actually engaging in open conflict in front of delegates. Then there's the after-hours private parties, where the real gossip spills into the small hours of the morning. This year's conference season is particularly stressful as it is likely the last before the next general election, which typically would make the events busier and the rhetoric wilder. But inside the Liverpool conference zone in northern England, corporate lobbyists, reporters, business executives, Labour members and Conservative Party spies searching for dirt, yes, really, are congenially drinking outside the main conference hotel in which leader Keir Starmer and his top team are staying. Those mingling are largely in agreement that, barring some major disaster, Labour is the next party of government. This is a long way of saying that this unusual level of certainty and unity means that the mood among the Labour faithful is buoyant. And why wouldn't it be? The party is, as things stand, the clear favourite to win the next general election after 13 years in opposition. Highlights of those 13 years for Labour include 3 election losses, a hard-left takeover of the party, and losing traditional voters because of Brexit and accusations of anti-Semitism. After former leader Jeremy Corbyn took over in 2015, he and his supporters moved the party significantly to the left. He was warned many times that his radical political history, nuclear disarmament, calling terror groups including Hamas friends, inviting Northern Irish terrorists to the UK Parliament, would make the party unelectable. He consequently lost 2 general elections as Labour leader. The party was bitterly divided after the election loss of 2019, which forced Corbyn's resignation. When Starmer took over from Corbyn, he oversaw a slow purging of the left. Corbyn was thrown out of the party after a report blamed him for anti-Semitism growing in the party under his leadership. For all Starmer has stabilized Labour and brought it back to the mainstream, the reversal in its fortune also owes some thanks to the Conservatives' self-destruction, Boris Johnson's Partygate scandal, Liz Truss's chaotic handling of the economy and an internal war, a clear sign of a party aware its time in power could be ending. For that reason, it was expected that Labour and its leader, Starmer, would simply try to get through this week without rocking the boat. If you are winning by default, why take any risks? That assumption has largely held true. Very little explicit policy has been announced in Liverpool. Rather, there were a series of speeches aimed at those who would have run a million miles from the party just a few years ago. This is no hard-left rabble, they want to project, but competent professionals who can be trusted with the nation. Government in waiting. It was also assumed that the party would try to put some flesh on the bones of Starmer's personality. He has been criticized by a vocal minority in his party for being too boring and lacking conviction. "What about this dull man with no real opinions is supposed to inspire me," said a former Labour advisor. Starmer's background is impressive, aspirational, even, but not exactly thrilling. As a clever child, he went to a selective state school, rather than a private school like so many at the top of British politics. Unlike many of his counterparts, he got an undergraduate degree in law at the University of Leeds.